The first place we actually investigated was Unit 1, which was originally the women's cell block. Women weren't housed at the pen after 1926. In the 70s, what it then became was a reception center, and a lot of prisoners came in there just on a temporary basis, and they would stay there 2 to 5 weeks. They'd be given diagnostic testing and be introduced to social workers and that sort of thing. And then eventually they were transferred either to different parts in the penitentiary, or they were transferred to different prisons. So that's what it later became. But originally it was the women's cell block. And the pen, again, opened in 1836, and it got its first female prisoner in 1842. And she was only there a couple of days, and then she got pardoned. Do you have any idea why?
She was a woman?
Yeah, they didn't know what to do with her. They didn't have any place to put her. And this seemed to be an ongoing thing at the pen. When they would get women, they had no place to put them. In 1876, they decided to build a 78-cell dorm for the women. And this is Unit 1. I met up with Kristen and Amaya, and then we decided we were going to go find a cell and do an EVP session. So finally going to play you some of my EVPs. I set the video camera up on the coat racks, and then I set up a Bible. It happened to be Easter Eve. Like the next day was Easter Sunday. And also, it just seems like when people go to prison and they're in these extreme conditions, they seem to get remorseful. I've noticed that.
Or they turn into white supremacists. I saw a lot of swastikas. Don't be a Nazi, kids.
Well, a lot of people find Jesus in prison. So I thought that the Bible would be a good trigger object. So I set up a Bible. Very first thing I captured after I was in there, because I had video, I caught an orb. I've never caught an orb. I love orbs, and I've never caught an orb until I was in this cell.
I don't know, man.
Isn't it a cute orb?
Sure.
Do we have it slowed down too?
Yeah.
Let's play her slow down. What do you think of my orb?
You ain't gonna like it.
What? Dust?
Dust.
Well, I think there's some validation because I captured EVPs with that orb. And I think that could go with other orbs too. If you have other phenomena that happens, I think that pulls it out of that. It just plain isn't evidence to maybe it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it gives it a stronger possibility of being something more than dust, don't you think?
Yeah.
You ready to hear some of my EVPs I captured in this cell, which I don't have the number because it was worn off, sorry. So, all right, put on your headphones. So how many of you are in here? We heard that they had a lot of you. They would put 8 in a cell. Do you hear it?
I heard somebody off in the distance.
It said, yeah.
Off in the distance?
No, it's not off in the distance. So you didn't like it?
I can't really, like,
You don't believe it. Okay, they get better. This is EVP number 2. Again, I had the Bible, and I was trying to take a thermal image of it. I can't get it to take the picture. I can't get it to take the picture. Did you hear that?
Like the breathiness at the end of you.
It says take it. I say, can I take the picture? And it says take the picture of it. I can't get it to take the picture. You don't hear it?
No.
Okay. Well, anyway, let's move on. I'll show you the thermal picture that I did take, though.
Scientific explanation of why it looks hotter. First of all, it's only like 2 degrees hotter. The reason why it is hotter is because specific heat of the paper has more moisture in it than the metal of the toilet, so it's gonna have more heat trapped inside of it because it doesn't go away as easily. Chemistry!
Alright, so the next EVP 3, again, I was talking about, are you sorry? Do you want to be forgiven? So let's listen to this one. So how many? What do you think of that? I am changed.
I mean, that's what they all say.
Well, this might be something that convinces you a little bit more. We had Jody on the trip with us, and we recorded her personal experience, and she talks about the women's unit. Note, though, that in the video, she says it's A Hall, but she later retracted. She was talking about Unit 1, or the women's cell block.
We were in A Hall, and the guides were telling us the history or whatever, and the lights were still on at the opposite end where that electric generator, like weird blind spot was at the other end. There was shadow people, like sticking their heads across like this. First one, it come out, and then it went back, and I was like, okay, whatever. And so I'm just watching, and it was like it went and got more. It was like, come here, because then it went doot, doot, doot. So I lingered alert, because that's down there a lot, because it was almost like that was where they could be themselves area. Mm-hmm. Because it was underneath the stairs, and
that is so cool.
And then when we were in the psych ward is when
the touching
like
of your
this.
hair.
It's like, because I just got a cut, so I thought, well, it's short, and they're probably like, this is a broad. What is she? What's over their hair?
Yeah.
But at first I was like, oh, there's a spider. My curl popped up or something,
right.
And it kept doing it. I was like, but. The Perilous was fantastic because it would bring up the Bible or whatever in the psych ward too. And so then me and Carrie were singing, gospel songs, albeit horrible for being the people we are.
But it was funny. I was walking by his cell and it said, "Fear me." And I'm like, well, why should I fear you?
Yeah, I kept fear me on that too. And Michelle and Carrie were like, ooh, and I'm like,
yeah, and in another cell I walked into, and there was like 6 of us who went into it, and it came up devil, and everybody left, but Darla and me, we looked and they're like, everybody's gone. So that's my experience in Unit 1, the women's cell block. So I didn't go. I stayed on the main level. As you know, I have walking issues, so it was a big area. So I didn't want to do steps and stuff unless I needed to. So I was on main level. You and George went upstairs, though. What did you think about the upstairs of Unit 1?
Yeah, we didn't really catch anything. Like, didn't hear any weird noises or anything.
So what was your overall impression of Unit 1? What did you think?
It was a prison.
Well, my favorite building I want to talk about next. And it's going to be a minute before we get to EVP, so I'm going to take my headphones off. So, Unit 4, A Hall. All right, it was built in 1868, and it was built originally to house Civil War criminals. And as I think I explained earlier, later it was used... Oh, no, I don't think I mentioned this, but did you know as it went through the years, later it was used to house the minimum security people of the maximum security prison. Prisoners would actually apply to get into A Hall. Like much of the pen, A Hall was built by prisoners because, again, they had this whole industry thing going. So anyway, this next EVP, believe it or not, is the only EVP I got in A Hall. Let's see what you think. There were only 2 men with us on this trip, and both of them said they did not sing, ever, during the whole trip.
To me, I do hear a male voice, but it doesn't really sound like singing to me.
See, if it doesn't sound like singing to you, that's why I wanted to show how big A Hall was. It just, the echoing maybe could have made it sound like singing.
Yeah, like, the way sound travels, it's gonna get a little weird.
But then, what if it could be singing? So, I didn't get any other EVPs in A Hall. But what I did do was I had a little instrument called a Perilous. I don't know what to think about the Perilous. What do you think about the Perilous?
Okay, so like possibly like the ones that are like $1,000. Those, okay, let's be honest, those are probably a cash grab. But like, they're probably more valid than the cell phone app we were using. I think that just spits out random words.
It's supposed to have like a whole dictionary in it, and then spirits are supposed to like manipulate it, be able to pick the word they want to say. We're not gonna get to it just yet, but there are a couple of Perilous sessions. I mean, there were the Perilous just went crazy in A Hall, and also over in Unit 3. I didn't use my Perilous in Unit 1, so that's why I don't have anything from there. There were some, maybe it was coincidence, you know?
I think...
But some seem kind of valid. But before we get to that, I want to play you this video of Carrie talking about Cell 7.
I'm getting an insane amount of orders. Almost like they're following me at this point. I went into the 7 room. Did you go in there?
Oh,
it's
the one over there?
No, it's upstairs.
Oh.
It's a little short room, and it was cell 7, and the orders were literally coming at me as I asked them to. And then since then, they're everywhere. They're in the shower. I got straight 1 minute of nothing but orbs flashing constantly.
Now, does that sound cool or what? Orbs flashing constantly. So guess where I had to go do an EVP session?
Cell 7.
Yeah, and you know what? She's talking about the one that had the funny door. It's because there was a time period in A-Hall where they replaced all the doors, and Cell 7 has the original door. And the reason why they replaced them is because of this system of harshness. They had little doors because they wanted the inmates to have to lower their heads in order to get into the cells.
Wow, prison's rough.
So that's where I decided to do my EVP session. Actually, Kathy, when we spoke to her, she had experiences in 7 while I was doing this perilous session.
My experience at the pen was when we were all in this one cell. I think it was the original cell. It had a small door. And Shannon had her phone out, and she was with that app, and she was asking questions and getting answers. We were communicating, and I had a bag, and I was sitting there, and you know how you take a water bottle and you squish it and it makes that crackling sound? Mm-hmm. Well, no one touched my water bottle, and it made that sound. And another thing is I literally felt the hair on my arms be tingled under my coat. And the psych center, the psych ward, was where I felt the weirdest, and I just got this really bad vibe. I didn't want to stick around long. I just wanted to find more people, and let's continue walking. It would be just absolutely horrible. It was a horrible existence for the people that live there.
And another interesting thing about the Perilous is it brought up a lot of names. There was this project done where you can go online to, it's the Missouri State Pen Archives, and you can search prisoners' names, and it lists them from 1836 to 1931. And so what I tried to do with some of the names I got on the Perilous, I searched them and I tried to link them with the other conversation on the Perilous, and I couldn't come up with anything though. But it was really interesting searching these prisoners. Some even had mugshots. It talked about how that there were prisoners that died there. People came, people went, but there were a lot of deaths in this prison. People who were shot, a lot of stabbing. And then there was a lot of disease. The pen at its highest point had more than 5,000 people. So you could imagine the disease. But I couldn't put any of the names to anything verifiable. But I did have a couple sessions of the Perilous that I want to show you. The first one, we were in the cell 7, and Kathy, she took a picture of the wall, and it had flowers on the wall. Saw it based. Does anybody have anything? Are you talking about the flowers? There's flowers up here. Yeah, I saw the flowers. Is that what you're talking about? What is your name? Can you tell us your name? Idol. What? Idol. What is your first name? What is your number? Ask them how long he's been here. Go ahead. Cold? What is cold? C-U-L-L-E-D. Damn. What is it? Damn. Cold and then to him. Call to him, maybe? Are you trying to say called?
Cold means of an animal selectively slaughtered, of flowers or fruit picked.
Oh, we were talking about flowers.
Fresh, cold daffodils.
Okay, so what do you think about that?
You know, perilous. They just spits out words, man.
Kind of interesting that it came up with some of those words, you know? I don't know, it was a coincidence, but he took the picture, and then this is what the parallels started talking about. I don't know, I thought it was really interesting. Well, let me show you another session with Michelle. She's a psychic and a medium, and she came into cell 7, and I had asked the question, how did you die? Why don't you play this session? Is that a no? Ledge.
Ledge?
Yeah.
He died on the ledge, which is out.
Maybe out there on the walkway outside the cell. Are you male? If it's a yes, you can try and twist the light and make it come on.
He was thrown off the ledge and landed on the ground.
Oh, wow.
And that is how he died.
Interrupt.
Oh, I interrupted you, I guess. You don't like me interrupting her?
Sadness and anger here for them to get out.
This. You know, that the reason I picked this too is because that particular session sort of sums up the whole overall feeling of sadness in this entire place.
It's a pretty terrible place, you know.
Right. And a lot of people think, oh, well, they were prisoners, so who cares, right? But still, there was human suffering there. So, before we leave Michelle, though, talking about her, I want to show her goblin picture in A-Hall, because this is really cool. See that? What do you think of that? Yeah, it's probably the paint chipping, but even if it's the paint chipping, what a weird way for the paint to chip. Leaves you speechless, don't it?
Yeah, that's what's leaving me speechless.
Well, I stayed on the main level again. Again, I didn't want to do steps, but you went down into the dungeons. And the dungeons, for people who don't know, is sort of like a basement area of A-Hall. It's also where the whipping stone was kept, and it's also where they put people in solitary confinement, as well as they put the troublemakers. They would put as many as 8 in a cell. The hardest thing about it is complete darkness, and there was nothing but the stone floor. You didn't get a bed, you didn't get a chair, you didn't get nothing. And there was this guy, Firebug Johnson. He was a real troublemaker. They put him in there 18 years.
Isn't that like a violation of like the Fifth Amendment or something?
Well, yeah, they can, but they're not supposed to do that now. Probably weren't supposed to do it then.
The Fifth Amendment's been
again,
around for
it
a
was
long
this
time.
Auburn system. But, you know, when he got out, Firebug Johnson, he wrote a book. And one thing he talked about to keep him from losing his sanity while he was down there is that other prisoners would do this too. Because sometimes he wasn't just in the cell alone. They would get a button off of their shirt, if they had a button, because they weren't well dressed. And they would just toss it in the cell. And then they would spend time just hunting around in the dark to find the button. That's how they would kill their time, doing stuff like that. So anyway, that's A-Hall. What did you think?
Spooky place.
It gets worse if you want to talk about sadness. Because then we went to Unit 3, C-Hall. We're also where Old Hall is, the oldest part of the remaining part of the prison. Unit 3 itself was built in 1914 over the existing basement part of an old building that they had torn down. This is also where death row is, and it's also where the criminally insane are. So on that recorder that you and George set up down there in the criminally insane part, they captured general noises and knocks. Through the whole 3.5 hours of video, every 10, 15 minutes, you might get a knock.
Yeah, and just to be clear, nobody was in that building or was supposed to be in that building.
Right.
So either we got some raccoons, some employees, or some spookies.
Just these general noises and knocks. I'm thinking maybe it's just the building settling. So no one was in this building. But I just want to play you some of these general noises and knocks that I heard because I think they're an oddity. Maybe, what if, again. but nothing really exceptional, right? I was gonna cut this out because it sounds like a helicopter, but I mean, it's like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Maybe it was like 1:30. I do not remember a helicopter coming. I thought of the riot of 1954. Did they have helicopters in 54? They had airplanes. I know that.
1939.
They did. So I don't know if the police in Jefferson City had helicopters or not, but there were other riots there too, and there were prisoner escapes there, and that happened during the whole 168 years. So I thought a helicopter that I didn't remember in the middle of the night was kind of odd. So, what did you think of the helicopter?
Sounds like a helicopter. And you
Could
know,
have been a prison escape.
okay, so
Could be
like,
residual.
so like helicopters happen in the middle of the night. There's like emergency medical evacs. There's like
Well, to the best of your recollection, was there a helicopter?
there
that
was
went over?
noises outside all night.
But a helicopter, come on. Just saying, could be residual, prison escapes, prison riots. And they had a lot of escapes at the pen. Okay, well, moving on. How about this one? After an hour and 40 minutes and a building is completely dark and nobody's in, there's a bell.
Sounds like somebody like flicking a glass cup, but like nobody had a glass cup.
And nobody was in the building then.
I don't know.
And I don't know. I got an I don't know.
Just because it's an I don't know doesn't mean it's ghosts.
This one, you're going to freak. Building's completely dark. No one's in it. And we know you're not in it because at the end of this, we hear you and George come in. Okay.
That one's weird because like nobody was down there and you can clearly hear like people moving carts
Told to so.
and like walking. That doesn't mean there could be like a freaking homeless person who broke in.
But I mean, we spent an hour and a half in that building. I didn't see one cart, nothing with wheels the whole time we're there.
And it could be something that's not a cart, like maybe one of the cell doors sounds like that.
Nobody messed with the cell doors. That was one of the rules. You couldn't mess with the cell door. And the really cool thing about it, because when we were all together, we chit-chat the whole time. You and George chit-chatted the whole time. In that whole 10 minutes, there's not one bit of chit-chat. And we couldn't have stayed quiet for 10 minutes.
It's weird.
Yep. That was kind of what you and George did down in Death Row and Criminally Insane. What I did, I was on a search for Bonnie Heady. Do you know who Bonnie Heady is?
First woman to be executed in Penn.
It was the only woman to be...
Only? I thought there was
Only
multiple.
woman. And she was the only one housed there in 53. As the story goes, she and her boyfriend Carl kidnapped a 6-year-old boy named Bobby Greenlease, and they murdered him. They collected the ransom money too. It was one of the biggest ransoms in U.S. history. But anyway,
That's such a dick move.
yeah, and so me being a mom, I wanted to talk to Bonnie. So that's this first EVP, is me walking through death row asking for Bonnie. So is Bonnie here? So is Bonnie here? So is Bonnie here? So what do you think of that? I think Bonnie didn't want to talk to me.
I don't think she'd want to talk to anybody.
Well, there are people who have said they've captured her on digital recorder. Not our group, but others where she says she did it for love.
Bullshit excuse.
Yeah. So, but I still continued looking for her. I went to the criminally insane part. It's me and Michelle. And Michelle was reading this criminally insane cell. And why don't you take a listen?
Okay, so whoever's in here can't even think to form words.
Really?
Really, all I feel is madness.
What do you think? I don't think that spirit liked Michelle. What do you think?
Yeah, no.
I don't think she liked her at all. So I'm still looking for Bonnie. And we went into cell number 9 and I captured this EVP. Is Bonnie in here? What'd you think of that one?
It just sounds like random words. Like, that you've come up with anyway, because, like...
Well, let me ask you if there is something on the recording, right?
It sounds like a whispery...
There's still something there. No matter what it is, there's still something there. You gotta at least...
I guess!
There. We're still in cell 9. And let's go back to the shoe factory. Remember I told you that they had one of the biggest shoe factories internationally? Well, there were some workers there, and they were called chalkers. What do you think of that?
It does sound like somebody saying chalker.
You think he was a chalker?
Or maybe he was accusing you of being a chalker.
Why would he think I was a chalker?
I don't know. Do you just state what you did and be like, lawyer?
Could be.
In a menacing voice.
So, well, we're not done. I got more. Okay, so we're moving around, and I'm still looking for Bonnie. And I end up in death row cell number 23 with Darla. So take a listen to this one. And I'm in a cell with Darla on this next one. Over. Oh, over. This one you're going to find funny. This is in cell 63. I think it's death row. There was a group. I can't remember how many people were in there, but if you show the picture, see the toilet and see how there's like a hole there? Well, most of them did not have toilet paper in them. In this particular cell, there was toilet paper in there, right? So, well, that excited the ladies. They had to play with the toilet paper.
Why would
Listen.
Oh, no.
What do you think?
The ghost didn't like it.
Now, I spoke to Danielle.
There actually was one room that made me really sick, but it was one of the warden's rooms that wasn't one of the cells. It was odd, but it wasn't just me. It was also Michelle had the same feeling. And,
Oh, really? Was it like you got nauseous? Or?
Yeah, just really, really sick, and it was only in that room.
Oh, wow.
So.
She said the whole time she was there was really nothing that affected her. But she got these incredible pictures, and they're all in these criminally insane cells. Danielle's been with us on a couple of 3 investigations, and I believe her when she says she never got nauseous in any other spot. Kind of weird. They say that spirits can cause you to feel things that they felt. Another thing about that, too, when we were walking from the criminally insane to the death row part, and we smelled like Vicks. It was like a Vixy smell.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. And then there were other areas where I thought I smelled tobacco too.
I didn't get any weird smells, just the normal dusty, musty prison.
And the only person that said they were touched was Jody. So that pretty much wraps up my experience about the pen. I didn't go up to general population. I did see when I was reviewing the evidence, I saw that you heard things, you felt things.
There were some times when we heard stuff, and there was a time when we were in the mentally insane ward where we were leaving, and then we heard a knock, and we were like, hey, you want us to stay? Once for yes, two for no. We did that twice. Both times got a knock for it, so we stayed. And there was also another part where we heard a knock in Gen Pop, but then like I ran into a gate and we sort of just like
So that pretty much wraps it up, except for the gas chamber, and neither of us went.
Yeah.
We did go the first time though.
Well, you see one gas chamber, you see all gas chambers.
It was actually the only gas chamber she's seen. She's just seen it already one other time. And when they came back, I asked them, if they had any experiences in the gas chamber, and they said no. It is a very, very depressing place. What's interesting to know is that the gas chamber wasn't even built until 1937. Did you know what they did, how they executed people prior to 1937 in Missouri?
Hanging?
It was hanging, but it wasn't in like a centralized place. It was like the county where you were convicted, they hung you. And it was such a spectacle that the governor was just like, we can't do this no more, because apparently people enjoyed hangings. So in 1937, they decided there needed to be one specific place where executions take place. But overall, what'd you think? You ready for another investigation?
Sure, man.
In fact, we got some more. This is not going to be the only soul searching coming up. We've got the Morris Mill Hotel. We've got Zombie Road. And we also did a private person, and it's about this phenomenon that thousands of people seem to be affected by, and he's called the Shadow Man.
Oh, I thought he was the Hat Man.
Oh, yeah. But you're right.
He's the Hat Man!
Most people think he's a shadow person, but you're correct.
Yeah, it's like Mothman, interdimensional being.
If you like what you saw today, make sure that you like us, subscribe to us, and share us. Get the word out there that soul searching is a thing now.
Bye.
Okay.
Do you need something?